Week 12. We are live. Welcome to college football's Peek Around the Corner with your host, Greg Pflugar. We cover everything in college football because we love everything in college football. And if you do as well, please subscribe to our channel. Smash the like button if you like our content. Share the video with your family and your friends if you want to support this rebel outpost with a donation. Hit the $ where you make a comment and we'll get to your super chat as quick as I possibly can. Welcome everybody into the studio that sits on the corner, the very corner of Keith Jackson Parkway and Kurt Gowdy Avenue. Do not be afraid. Do not be afraid, PATC community. You geniuses, do not be afraid to become a legend with your comments in the chat room and with your phone calls later in the show. Yesterday, I got the SEC mad at me. I got Georgia mad at me. Now remember, I also said I believe that Georgia is going to beat Tennessee. Georgia's going to run the table. Georgia is going to find themselves in the playoffs. Deservedly so. But right now they should not be listed as part of the college football playoff bracket. The committee got it right. ESPN got it wrong. Okay, that is water under the bridge, over the bridge, whatever. Today, I'm going to get the Big 12 upset with me. Today is the Big 12's turn to get upset with the fat guy from Minnesota. Because honestly, the Big 12 nightmare scenario is not dead. It is alive. And I got a feeling that it is alive more than ever. And I'm going to give you my reasons why later on in the show. The nightmare scenario. All it takes is a couple things to happen. Again, this is the show that the Big 12 fans of the Big 12 schools are going to get mad at me. Now, having said all that, and we will get into it later, the BYU Cougars can kill the nightmare dead. But can they? Or are they going to need a little help from a certain friend out on the East Coast? Before we get into all that, we're going to make our picks against the spread here in Week 12. We're still going to make our selections. Now, we haven't even gone over last week's picks. Did Greg the Gold appear? Did Greg the Gold make an appearance? Did I finish above 500 against the spread for the only second time all year? Did I? Did I get it done? How did you geniuses do? Going into week 11, I was 44-62 against the spread. The geniuses were 45-61. You had a one-game lead on me. Greg the Gold. For the second time this year, did it happen? Did it happen? No, it did not. Greg the Cooler collapsed at the end of the weekend. I had it. Greg the Gold was going to make an appearance, but then I lost everything at the back half of Saturday night. We will go through it right now real quick. I went 5-7 against the spread. I won UCLA on a Friday night against Iowa. UCLA, Michigan. I took Michigan, the spread against Indiana. I took Kansas. I took Colorado. I took South Carolina. I already had 5 wins. I had lost Miami. I lost Cincinnati. I lost to Georgia. I was 5-3. Then I lost LSU, Florida State, Washington, and BYU against the spread. I finished 5-7. The mayor of Loserville City. The geniuses, you guys went, well, I'll just tell you what you did. You got Georgia Tech correct. You took them, a spread against Miami, and Georgia Tech won. Congratulations. You got Georgia Tech correct. You got Colorado correct. Congratulations. You got Penn State correct. And that's it. The geniuses that fill up the college football peek around the corner chat room went 3-9. 3-9 against the spread. You got BYU wrong, Florida State wrong, LSU wrong, Vanderbilt wrong, Iowa State, Indiana, Cincy, Iowa. Holy smokes. So, your record against the spread for 2024 is 48 wins and 70 losses. 48 and 70. Greg the Cooler is 49 and 69. I'm sorry. Yeah, 49 and 69. I've got a 1-game lead against you geniuses for the first time in about 6 weeks. I have taken the lead. I have taken the lead against the geniuses of the PATC.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
Okay. Ryan Thomas. Greg, we are playing for a conference championship, not taking a chance and hoping to get it at large. Been screwed too many times in the past to hope. Thank you for the super chat, Ryan Thomas. I appreciate it. Again, I got the SEC mad at me yesterday. I'm going to get the Big 12 mad at me for even bringing this up. For even bringing this up. No disrespect. No disrespect at all to Colorado, BYU, Iowa State, Kansas State, the Big 12. But the nightmare scenario is still alive. BYU can kill it. Kill it on their own, or they can get a little help from a friend out in the East Coast. We're going to get into it, but only after we both make our selections. I am officially worried about the Big 12 going into this weekend. We will get into it. Okay, so, look, you guys are going to make the selections first. No. Who went first last week? I don't even remember. I had you guys vote on it. I'm going to have you guys go first. This week. You guys are down a game against me. Holy smokes. We got one news to get to. Martin Jamond, UCLA athletic director, gets a deal that extends him to 2029. 2029. Whoops, sorry. I don't even know if there's so many things going on right now. This show could have been about anything. We do have to make our selections. And we will. Hold on, everybody. Do I even want to go down? My prof, Project Rudy, CSFL reps to meet with the Big 12 and ACC leaders. Sweeping college football changes on the itinerary by Dennis Dodd 43 minutes ago. If somebody can send me a link to that information into my private messages on X, can you please send it my way? I have not seen that particular article, but I did put out a tweet earlier saying private equity 2025 is going to be the year that private equity gets in to the college athletic space. 2025. If anybody has that article about Project Rudy and CSFL meeting with the leaders of the Big 12 and the ACC by Dennis Dodd, send it my way. Please send it my way. Okay. Let's get to it. Now, we've only got 8 games to select. 8 of them. 8 of them. And again, the fat guy from Minnesota, Greg the Cooler, on 49-69, which is absolutely horrific. Only better than one game versus you geniuses that are 48-70. So let's make our picks. Let's make our picks. Texas at Arkansas. Texas at Arkansas. The big rivalry, now that it is back. SEC. Texas back with Arkansas in the same conference. Minus 13.5. A lot of people keeping an eye on this game because, well, Texas is getting some scrutiny, not as much as Penn State. It would do the Longhorns good to win this game convincingly. Does Texas cover the minus 13.5 point spread versus Arkansas? Yes, you're taking Texas. You're giving 13.5. If you vote no, you want Arkansas plus 13.5. The voting begins now. Five more seconds on the vote. 5 more seconds on the vote. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. No. 57% says no. The PATC community takes Arkansas. Now, Arkansas just gave up 1 million points. And you know that Texas is going to want to run up the score. But the PATC community, the geniuses, still say Arkansas is going to cover. Holy smokes. Utah at Colorado. I did get the CBS report of Project Rudy and CSFL. We're going to go through that together after we make our selections. So I did get the report. Thank you for someone who sent it to me. Nobody else has to send it to me. I've got the report. We'll go through it together. Utah at Colorado. The line is Colorado minus 11.5. And of course, Colorado is another. Not only do they want to win this game, but they want to roll up the score on Utah. Does Colorado cover the minus in 11.5 point spread versus Utah? If you vote yes, you're taking Colorado and you're giving it 11.5. If you vote no, you're taking Utah, you're taking it 11.5. The voting begins now. The voting begins now. Yes, Colorado. No, Utah. Illini 10. Illinois Chancellor Robert Jones is stepping down at the end of the season. He is the current chairman of the Big Ten Council of Presidents and Chancellors. My prof says the Buffs are going to roll. AER, Utah Utes, plus 11. They're 11.5 on this one. They're 11.5 on this one. Five more seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 54% says yes. It was a close vote, a close one, but the PATC community takes Colorado. Takes Colorado. Okay. Nebraska at USC. The Trojans with the new quarterback. Nebraska with the new offensive coordinator. Does USC Trojans cover the minus 9.5 point spread versus Nebraska? The voting begins now. You guys, watch your personal shots at each other. Watch your personal shots. I understand everyone's taking a shot at each other's teams and conferences, and just watch the personal shots. Does USC cover the 9.5 point spread over Nebraska? 5 more seconds on the vote. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. No. 56% says USC is not going to cover the 9.5 point spread. The PATC community takes the Cornhuskers, getting 9.5. Again, we're only taking 8 games this week. 8 of them. Baylor versus West Virginia. The Mountaineers still have an outside shot at getting to the Big 12 championship game. The Mountaineers are not mathematically eliminated. Does West Virginia cover the minus 2.5 point spread against the Baylor Bears? The voting begins now. West Virginia. I'm sorry. Baylor is favored. I screwed up the poll. I screwed up the poll. Holy cow. Hold on. I'm ending that poll. We're putting up a new one, guys. Baylor Bears are favored. And I knew that early in the week and I forgot. Okay, does Baylor cover the minus? I don't think anyone noticed that. Does Baylor cover the minus 2.5 point spread versus West Virginia? My bad. Does Baylor cover the minus 2.5 point spread versus West Virginia? The voting begins now. Where did Chris Lambert go? Daniel Montcastle. I've been asking that question. I don't know where the dude of West Virginia is. He has not made a comment on social media since the day of the backyard brawl. So if anybody knows, let me know. You don't have to tell me in the chat room. Let me know if he's okay with a private message on X once you get the opportunity. Okay. Gonna give you 5 more seconds on the vote. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 63% says no. The PATC community takes West Virginia. Wow. Arizona State, Kansas State. It sounds like Cam Scatterboo is back for Arizona State, the great running back. Does Kansas State, who needs to win this game desperately, does Kansas State cover the minus 8 point spread versus Arizona State? The voting begins now. Kansas State minus 8 over Arizona State. It's a tight one. The vote is close. I'm going to give you 5 more seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 52% says no. The PATC community takes Arizona State. Holy smokes. Man, you geniuses are either onto something or you're on something. Hint, hint, wink, wink. You guys are most definitely on something this week. Your 3-9 record last week is about to get duplicated this week when it comes to the winning percentage. Holy smokes. Okay, here we go. Oregon at Wisconsin. The Ducks versus the Badgers. Does Oregon cover minus 14 point spread versus the Evo Badgers? The voting begins now. Coos Corner. Coos is in the house. What's up, peeps? If my Mountaineers make the Big 12 title game and wins, the Big 12 could get left out of the college football playoffs. Likely won't have to worry about it, though. Maybe you do. Maybe you do. BYU is really the only one in control of killing the Big 12 nightmare scenario. And are they in position to kill it? We're going to go over it here in a little bit. But I'm more worried today than I was after the game when BYU won that thrilling game. I am more worried today than Saturday night or Sunday morning. Sunday morning, early Sunday morning. And we're going to go over the reason why. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 57% of the voters say yes. Oregon is going to cover. Oregon is going to cover the minus 14 point spread. Tennessee. You must be from Tennessee because you're the only 10 I see at Georgia. The Bulldogs. All eyes on the Volunteers and the Bulldogs. Does Georgia cover the minus 9.5 point spread versus Tennessee? The voting begins now. Gonna give 5 more seconds. 5 more seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 50. We're gonna go in overtime. The next vote will determine it. It was no. It was no. It was no. We're taking a no. 52%. The PATC community took Tennessee. It went back and forth, but the next vote in overtime was a no on Georgia covering, so the PATC community takes Tennessee. Hold on one moment. Hold on one moment here. I've got to check something. We're a little busy here behind the curtain. We are a little busy behind the curtain. Whew, boy. Give me a moment. We got one more game. One more game to make our selections. My goodness. Things are going to get... Things are going to get a little crazy. Okay. Illini Ted, if the Big 12 doesn't make the top 5 conference champions, I'm not sure. I would say there's a clear number 3 going forward. If the ACC implodes, I don't know, but hilarious that Georgia's the favorite by that much. Daniel says Georgia 45-10. Coos Corner, if you can just reach out to him. He has not said a word. He's not said a word since the backyard brawl. And that is not like him at all. I have not been able to reach him. Okay, one more game. One more game to make your predictions. Kansas at BYU. Immaculate says that Christopher Lambert wasn't going to post on X anymore. I did not hear him. I did not see him say that on X. I don't see that reply. But anyways, usually I'm able to. I've had phone calls with them. I can't even get them on the phone. That's why I'm nervous. Not just because he hasn't put anything out on X. So, anyways, does BYU cover the -2.5 point spread versus Kansas? The voting begins now. Five more seconds on the vote. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 64% of the voters picked BYU. Okay, all right, here we go. So, you guys, the geniuses out there with a 48-70 record against the spread, took Arkansas, Colorado, Nebraska, West Virginia, Arizona State, Oregon, Tennessee, and BYU. Couple things. One is Ryan Brooks, the Army-Navy game does not count towards the playoff selection. The Army-Navy game is a week after the American Athletic Conference championship game. And everybody said it was okay for Army and Navy game for that to be played a week after the AAC championship game. Now, Army and Navy might meet in the AAC championship game, and that would affect Army's ability to go to the playoffs. But everything is going to be settled before the Army-Navy game is played. So if Army runs the table, if they beat Notre Dame, and remember, Army could be playing a top 25 Tulane team in the AAC championship game. If they beat Tulane, it's going to be near impossible or impossible. I think it is impossible to keep Army out of the playoffs if they run the table. The Army-Navy game a week after the championship game is not going to have any bearing on the playoff selection. That is number one. Okay. Let's get to my selections, and then we've got a lot to talk about. Things are piling up here at PATC. I'm going to do this real quick. We have never been more different. We have never been more different in our selections. I've got Texas. They're going to put the foot to the gas pedal. They got to win. They want to win big. They want to win big. That's the key in this game. Arkansas just gave up 1 million points. Texas is going to throw. Texas is going to cover the minus 13.5. Utah at Colorado. The PATC community took Colorado. So am I. I'm taking Colorado. Utah is playing freshman Wilson. Nebraska at USC. I got USC Trojans. I got the USC Trojans. And I don't think this game is going to be particularly close. I like Dana Holgerson. I think it's a good idea. I think it's a great idea. But this is a week of transition. I think it's more of a transition for Nebraska than it is USC. I think no matter what you do, that Nebraska O-line is sieve. USC is going to hit Raiola. I think this is going to be a blowout. I've got USC. Baylor in West Virginia. Unfortunately for my Mountaineer friends, I've got Baylor. They are on a roll. Absolute roll. I got the Baylor Bears. Arizona State at Kansas State. I've got Kansas State. Once again, I disagree with the PATC community. The first 5 games, we are different on 4 of them. We agree with Oregon. The Oregon is going to crush the Evil Badgers. Tennessee at Georgia. You guys took Tennessee. It was close. It went into overtime. You are welcome, Jeff Morgan. You are welcome. Nico has concussion issues. I don't think he's going to play in this game. I don't think QB1 is going to play in this game. Georgia, the Bulldogs, are going to roll. And they are going to get into the next playoff projections. Kansas at BYU. Kansas at BYU. And this is going to segue into my... I am now officially worried about the nightmare scenario. The nightmare scenario with the Big 12. I've got Kansas winning this game. Not only covering, but winning this game 2.5 points. I've got Kansas. Now, this is what led me back to the nightmare scenario. I give BYU a lot of credit. I give BYU a lot of credit for this incredible season. LJ Martin is legit. Jake Raslap, I talked about him before the season. I love his story. Yeah, he gambles a little bit too much. Turns over the ball just a little bit too much. Makes some throws he shouldn't be throwing. But he makes plays when you need him to make plays. I absolutely love his story. The defense is legit. Chase Roberts, legit. Darius Lassiter, legit. The coaching staff, legit. Everything is legit. But I gave BYU a lot of credit for coming back and winning that game. They shut down Utah. Remember, we've looked at it. Punt, 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 punt. Punt, 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 punt. And you got to tip your cap to the BYU Cougars. They won that game. But however, Brandon Rose, the Utah quarterback, had suffered a season-ending injury in the second quarter of the game, at the end of the second quarter. Brandon injury occurred earlier in the game than many initially thought. According to his mother, Rose tore his ligament in the second quarter just before halftime. It's in the midfoot, provides support. At halftime, a steel-plated insole was put into his cleat to brace the torn ligament. The doctor couldn't believe he was even really able to walk. Brandon Rose will undergo surgery today and is expected to make a full recovery. We did a watch party during that game. We did a watch party. We talked about how gutsy it was for Brandon Rose, how he could run the ball, make first downs using his legs. He was really good at it. He was tough. He played really good. And then we commented through the whole second half that BYU's defense came alive. Well, now we learn injuries are all part of it. They're all part of football. Kyle Whittingham maybe should have brought in Wilson, right? BYU beat the team in front of them like they've been doing all season. Again, hat tip to BYU. But if I think back to that game, and I'm trying to project against Kansas, Jalen Daniels, who now is finally elevated his play, running for first downs. Devin Neal's running the ball. They beat Iowa State pretty easily. I've got Kansas upsetting BYU. And look at Vegas. They've only got BYU as a 2.5 point favorite. So, this is why I say the Big 12 nightmare scenario is still alive. Victory for BYU. But looking back at that game, with a quarterback unable to run, unable to support himself, unable to dig on his passes, he should not have played. Again, that gives me pause. Great pause. BYU can kill the nightmare scenario. The nightmare scenario is not just that the Big 12 won't get a first round bye in the playoffs. The nightmare scenario is that no Big 12 teams make the playoffs. If BYU gets defeated by a 3-win Kansas, 4-win Kansas, and if BYU loses in the Big 12 championship game, and Army loses to Notre Dame by a couple points, or beats Notre Dame, goes on to beat a top 25 Tulane, wins the American Athletic Conference Championship, and Boise State runs the table, the nightmare scenario is a Big 12 team will not make the playoffs. I said at the beginning of this live show, is it going to happen? Probably not. But, and am I going to make the Big 12 people upset with me, especially BYU today? Yes, just like I got the Georgia people upset with me and the SEC people the day before. The nightmare scenario is still alive. BYU can kill it. BYU can absolutely kill the scenario on their own this Saturday against Kansas at home, Provo. They're only 2.5 point favorites. Think about that. Think about that. At home. Now BYU can once again tell the rest of the college football world to say, they can tell them to bite me, to go out there and beat Kansas, to go undefeated. But this game means so much. Colorado would rather defeat an undefeated BYU team in the Big 12 championship game. Colorado wants Kansas to win this game. Now that Colorado has control of its own destiny, Colorado beats up on a Utah team. They go to the Big 12 championship game with 2 losses, and Kansas with 0 losses. Colorado with 1 Big 12 loss. BYU with no Big 12 losses. Colorado beats Kansas. It helps them. BYU defeats Colorado. BYU's a 3rd seed in the playoffs. This Kansas game, this not only this Kansas game, but at Arizona State the week after. What do you think the line is going to be on that? I have not been against BYU. Guys, again, this is a national college football YouTube show. I'm talking about a nightmare scenario that's alive. I'm not against BYU. Well, I'm not against BYU any more than I'm against any other team out there. The only team I'm for is the Golden Gophers. I'm not for the Big Ten. I'm not for the SEC. I'm not for anybody. I'm just laying it out there. There's a reason why BYU is only a 2.5-point favorite. People are still questioning, and BYU can kill the nightmare scenario. I have no power. We're just talking. We are just talking. I am not against BYU any more than I'm against anybody. Well, I'm against the Wisconsin Badgers more than anybody else. And everybody else is at the same level. So keep that in mind. Just putting it out there. Now, all in good fun. You bet. Yeah, it is. It is. Anyways, I praise BYU up and down. Up. Bite your tongue. Evil Badgers, Jeff Olson. I'm against Wisconsin. Jeff Olson knows this at the highest level. And then I'm against everybody else at the same level. The rest of you 130 some programs. And then the only love I have is for my beloved Golden Gophers. That's it. I'm not on the Kansas Jayhawk Express. I have ripped the Jayhawks this year as well. Kansas has been upset with me. Everybody has been upset. Let's take a look at this. Let's take a look at this. Again. 2025 is going to be a crazy year. Dennis Dodd. Project Rudy, CSFL reps to meet with Big 12 ACC leaders. Sweeping college football changes is on the itinerary. Presidents and chancellors from the Big Ten and the SEC are not expected to attend the December meeting. Presidents and chancellors from the Big 12 in at least a portion of the ACC. And I bet you North Carolina is part of that portion. Presidents and chancellors from the Big 12 and at least a portion of the ACC will meet next month to view formal presentations from leaders of 2 proposed college football postseasons, sources told CBS Sports. Baylor President Linda Livingston initially sent a letter to the CEOs of the other Power 4 schools regarding a summit about the future of college sports. However, details have emerged on how that meeting came about. The Big 12 presidents first wanted to hear more about both postseason proposals which emerged this year. Livingstone is current chair of the Big 12 CEOs. That Big 12 discussion evolved into an invitation of all the Power 4 schools about the models and future of college athletics. Presidents from the SEC and the Big 10 are not expected to attend. Their commissioners have shown public disdain for both postseason models. Here we go. Again, this is the first time I'm reading this article. It's disappointing they're poo-pooing it, said North Carolina Athletic Director Bubba Cunningham, listed as a CSFL ambassador. Even if you attend the meeting and participated and decided it wasn't for you, that would be, at least to me, a better thing to do, but just to dismiss it out of hand is frustrating. Woo! We did a live show earlier this week on Bubba Cunningham in North Carolina and private equity. We talked about how the ACC, how Bubba Cunningham feels North Carolina, what could they possibly do? This is a Hail Mary in which Bubba Cunningham does not have control over. The Big Ten and the SEC won't even come to play. But Bubba Cunningham is control, has a lot of control over another Hail Mary that North Carolina could throw, and that is the dissolution of the ACC. We at Peek Around the Corner gave you all a peek early this week. All eyes on Bubba Cunningham in 2025. Nothing imminent. We don't know if it's going to happen. We're not reporting that it's going to happen. We are reporting that the chatter behind the curtain and the North Carolina money perch absolutely believes that Bubba Cunningham is going to be searching for a solution for University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill. Period. Dot. Explanation point. Bubba Cunningham doesn't have many options. This is one of them. And you can see he put his name on the dotted line to be a CSFL ambassador. He put his name out there vocally in the CBS Sports article just an hour ago. I got a feeling that the year 2025 is going to be the year of private equity. How does it come in to the college football world is going to decide the fate of a whole lot of potential scenarios out there. And all eyes, I'm telling you, we gave you the peek just this week. I think it was Tuesday, right? Tuesday, 2 days ago. We talked about Bubba Cunningham. Back to the article. Sources told CBS Sports there was interest from a few Big Ten and SEC CEOs about the meeting, but they eventually made their decision not to attend. The number of ACC presidents have shown interest in attending, sources said. The idea for proponents of both models is to target college presidents as a way to eliminate the middleman, the athletic directors. The meeting provides a way to get out in front of those CEOs who control purse strings at universities and would have to make the ultimate decision on any radical changes to the sport. I do not believe that leaving it just to the commissioners and athletic directors is the way to go, because when you do not get the view of the university as a whole. West Virginia President CSFL Ambassador Gordon Gee told CBS Sports earlier this year. On Thursday, Gee texted he was hopeful about the meeting. Len Perna, chairman and CEO of powerful search firm Turnkey, has emerged as the leading voice of the CSFL. His so-called Super League would take the top 80 schools and create a single entity league similar to the NFL. Project Rudy is a slightly different model. It would include the top 70 schools, funding from Smash Capital. In both cases, the bottom of the FBS would not be included. Various administrators and experts have speculated such a change to college football could not begin until at least the next decade. The Power Four conferences are tied to the lucrative media rights deal until then. However, the need could escalate if a collective bargaining union or employment model emerged in college athletics. In that case, schools would need even more money to compensate athletes in what is increasingly becoming a pay-for-play system. But without support of the SEC and the Big Ten, do the proposals have a chance? Sankey said I've studied a bit. I don't want to dumb down the SEC. Okay, that's it. So anyways, an article that come out today, Bubba Cunningham expressing his frustration in public. Why is that important? If Bubba Cunningham ever decides to hit the nuke button, he has built some political cover, being a CSFL ambassador out in public. Why isn't everybody at least going to these meetings? All eyes on Bubba Cunningham. Tony, you're against the Badgers. That's music to my ears. Super chat. Thank you, Tough Tony. I appreciate it. Appreciate you, Super Chat, your generosity. The evil Badger, Ryan Willie. I know the Badgers are probably going to get smoked, but I'd rather have roasted Duck. Ryan Willie is not going to give up on the dream of Wisconsin beating the Ducks. Thank you for your Super Chat, Ryan Willie. I do appreciate it. Okay, let's open up the phone lines. Colorado still trying to flip the highly recruited quarterback, Juju Lewis. Okay, let's open it up. Let's open up the phone lines. Here we go. Let me know how wrong I got it once again. 763-260-1333. 763 260-1333. We made our picks against the spread. Greg the Cooler has a 1-game lead over the geniuses of PATC. Mr. Jayhawk, excuse me. Greg, something I thought about private equity. If it does come in, what are the restrictions keeping it from being sold to other third parties later? I'm worried about the TV media buying the league. Vox Quindardo, dang nabbit, I missed the whole entire show. What the hell happened? You can go back and watch it, Vox. You can go back. I do believe that the community, the geniuses, needed your vote on some of these games. I think it was an absolute car wreck. The PATC community went 3-9 last week against the spread, and I think they're about to go 2-6 again this week. Holy smokes. Give us a call, 763-260-133, Mr. Georgia Bulldog. Why can't we all just get along? Why you want to leave us? Don Scruggs. You're going to be hearing more about Bubba Cunningham, 2025. Coos Corner, West Virginia could win with 4 losses. Absolutely true. You need Kansas State to lose. That's one thing I know you guys need. You need Kansas State to lose. I'm facing reality. It's an unlikely reality, but still a reality. BYU has control of their own destiny. BYU has done nothing wrong. Nothing wrong. I agree with their ranking. I thought they got screwed in the rankings the first week. I'm just saying, it's now we know if Brandon Rose would have been healthy. Does BYU beat Utah last week? Can BYU defeat Kansas this week? BYU can shut everybody up. They can shut everybody up once again. Beat the Jayhawks. Beat the Jayhawks at home. But if they lose, if BYU loses, and again, even if, look, in Colorado, let's say Colorado wins the Big 12 with those 2 losses. The loss against Nebraska doesn't look all that good, okay? But still, a Big 12 champion, 2 losses, they should be okay. But they're not going to finish ahead of, I don't believe they're going to finish ahead of a Boise State. It's going to be close. But then you got to look at Army. So the Big 12 has 2 ways out of this. BYU runs the table, or Army gets beat bad against Notre Dame, or Army loses to Tulane in the AAC championship game. I don't know if that's true or not. The reports are out there. Underwood, the quarterback, $10 million. I don't know. Tony says Army is not beating Notre Dame. Not beating Notre Dame.
Call from
Nitwit.
Mr. Penn State. Nitwit, you guys have been feeling the heat. Holy smokes. Again.
I know.
What's that guy's name on ESPN?
Feinbaum.
Well, the guy, today it was Mad Dog.
Oh, God.
Mad Dog sitting next to Paul Feinbaum with Stephen A. Mad Dog says if Penn State and Georgia played today, that Georgia would be more than a 10-point favorite, that Georgia would wax Penn State. Holy smokes. I don't know, man. ESPN. Woo! Go ahead. The floor is yours.
I was licking my paws today, man. We were just getting boat raced here on the media. Blows my mind. I would just tell everybody to shut their mouth and let it play out. You know?
Yeah.
People, like, what are we talking about this now when there's, 3 weeks left? Like, what are you doing? Like,
well, we got to talk about it. It's part of the...
Yeah, no, but, I mean, why are you throwing darts now? Like, are you serious? Are you, like, if Georgia wins out, they deserve to be in the playoffs. Penn State goes to Minnesota and they lose, they don't deserve to be in the playoffs. If Texas plays somebody and gets an upset, they don't deserve to be in the playoffs.
I got news for you, man. The Gophers are not beating the Lions.
I threw it in there, Greg.
I know. I thank you for that, but we can't physically hold up to anybody with a pulse physically.
I'm not.
Suddenly we became this finesse team, which is kind of fun to watch for 1 year. But we get bulldozed by anybody. And the Lions are going to beat us up. I'm going to throw the white towel in. I should drive to the stadium, throw the white towel in the middle of the football field, and say, no mas, middle of the second quarter. Go ahead, sir. Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, that's fine, Greg. Like I said, I'm old enough to remember. I think we started things going pear-shaped when we played Minnesota. Like, my teams go pear-shaped when they play Minnesota. I remember in 99 with LeVar Harrington, number one team in the country, and everything went pear-shaped. I think we started that. But like I said, things have to work out. Said this.
The kicker for the Gophers went to my high school.
Oh, cool.
When he made that
that's
kick.
Awesome, man. I mean, that has to be an awesome memory, and it'll forever connect Penn State and Minnesota.
Yeah.
I mean, I watch your team. Sometimes I root for your team, and I have to say, though, I watched that Georgia-Alabama game.
Yeah.
And I tweeted afterward in my nitwit Twitter X profile that what if these teams aren't as good as everybody's saying they are, and then had a little mind-blown thing. And I think that's what you're seeing. You're seeing a lot of SEC talking heads panicking right now because their teams are just not as good as they used to be.
They're not.
I mean,
they're the best conference, but they're not dominant.
No. And like I said, they can throw darts. They can say Penn State. Penn State's probably, a yard and a half away from being the number 2 team in the country? If they would have scored and maybe won?
Yeah.
I mean, come on now. I mean, we're no one's talking about that. So, I mean, I just wanted to call in, Greg. I tell you what, this is you throw out these things, it's very concerning. A lot of uncertainty, a lot of volatility in college football. I'm worried. I think there's things coming down the pike that people aren't even thinking about. Title IX hasn't been resolved. Are these teams going to be associated with colleges anymore? You think people like Lindsey Dunn? Other sports are treating NIL. Let me tell you the lowdown from people I hear. People I talk to. Other sports are treating NIL like NIL. The intent, right?
Yeah.
Gymnastics. Other sports treating NIL like NIL was intended to be. And they're going to look over and say the star quarterback's getting $1.5 million? And that's Title IX? With Lindsey Dunn probably brought more attention to LSU than anybody else did.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things. There's a lot of things that need to play out. And if you think, I hate to tell Greg Sankey this, if you think ESPN's going to pony up billions of dollars for the next 30 years, you're nuts.
Yeah.
If you're relying on that to be your income source, you're crazy. Where is that revenue going to come from in ESPN 30 years when everybody goes streaming?
Yeah.
Where's that going to come from? And I mean, you're sitting on now. Your house of cards is getting like the base is starting to get a little wobbly, and all these people out there, talking this and well, let me protect my little piece. You're going to get a reality check because you don't get Title IX worked out. Then you're going to get politicians involved, and how are they going to work this out? Well, then you have state representatives upset in one state versus another state. I mean, you could get chaos. These are state universities that get public funding. Like, how's that going to work? I mean, no one's talking about some of this stuff. Like, I mean, it's concerning. I mean, I love this sport, Greg. You're right on the corner, and you love college sports as much. I mean, I grew up. My grandfather, the first game I ever watched was Miami, Penn State, national championship game. From that little moment on, I love college football.
Yep.
And it's concerning that these things are coming out, and it seems like the leadership are lacking vision, are lacking kind of like, they don't want to play in the same playground to kind of figure this out. And no matter what you want to say, I know what NIL is, right, Greg?
Yeah.
We all know what it is. Name, image, and likeness. That means if the car dealership down the road wants you to promote something for them, you get paid for it. Right?
Yeah.
That's what NIL is. If you want to be put in a video game, you get paid for it. You want to do this, you want to do that. Your name, image, and likeness. It's not, some rogue group associated with the university dropping you bags of cash. That's not what NIL is. So what are other sports people going to do? What are women's sports going to do? Go ahead, start cutting women's sports. See what happens.
Yeah.
Right, Greg?
Yeah. It's we are definitely not.
Who do you think? Go ahead, Greg.
No, I was just gonna say we're definitely not out of the chaos. We're basically
You're not out of chaos. Lindsey Dunn has brought more attention to LSU than their quarterback is, and the quarterback's probably getting 500 and some in money. So, what are we doing here? Like, no one's like sitting down figuring this out. And it's funny, everybody used to get on the NCAA under their leadership, under their umbrella, and they used to make fun of them. And you know what? The ghost of the NCAA is just sitting back watching all this. Here it comes. Here it comes. And you know what? It's coming. There's going to be a rectified situation at some point in time where you're just going to get blindsided. Whoa, where did this come from? Because like I said, if you don't get Title IX worked out, if you're associated with a public institution and you're just handing out bags and all of a sudden politicians get involved, what are you doing, Sankey? Well, I'm just going to sit here and protect my little kingdom here while you get wrecked. I don't care about BYU. I don't care about the Big 12. I don't care about all these other schools. They're public institutions that get public taxpayer dollars. Most of, 90% of them are, Greg?
Mm-hmm.
So I just want to call in and, I understand the models. It is disheartening that you're just not going to go and you're not going to check it out. I agree with the North Carolina chancellor. And if you're going to sit there and die on that hill that ESPN's going to save you in 30 years, Sankey, yeah, die on that hill. Because they're not. Their revenue is nowhere near going to be in 30, 40, 50 years what you're getting paid. It's almost like fool's gold, Greg. Your TV deals right now are fool's gold. Do you agree with that?
I don't know if, well,
You know how ESPN gets their money, Greg.
yes, but that doesn't mean I can't go as far as you because there's a whole bunch of big money sitting on the table ready to replace ESPN. That's
Right.
why. That's
I mean,
why.
whether it be Amazon or Apple or, you know what I mean? I get it.
No.
I mean, whatever that's, it's kind of like Steve Jobs. We don't know where that big bet is yet. Where is that universal streaming site? Right? We don't know where it's at. We don't even know what model it is. Is it somewhat, the technology hasn't even worked out. Is the model going to be, well, you get some advertising during the game, or it's you pay extra to not get any advertisements during the game? Like, they haven't even figured that out. But I'm just saying, like, these are, they used to be student athletes, Greg. That's where I go back to.
Mm-hmm.
And there's going to be people that are going to get harmed in this. There's going to be promises made to, and they're going to get wrecked. Kids are going to get hurt. Scholarships are going to be lost. Teams, athletic teams associated with athletic departments are going to get cut. No one's talking about this stuff. So I just want to hang up, Greg. Thank you so much for having the platform.
You got it.
Go Nittany Lions, number 4 in the country. I'll take it, Greg. I'll take it all day long.
You
Thanks.
got it.
But
appreciate it. All right. I just wish my Golden Gophers could put up a game against the Lions 9 days from now, but they're not going to be able to do it. So, but yeah, a lot of passion. There's also another story that I think we're going to have to keep an eye on in regards to. Please, let's stop the. Can we stop the personal shots against each other in the chat room? You can say you can disagree with somebody. You can say you disagree with somebody, but enough with the personal shots. I'm going to start putting people on timeout. Okay. Okay. There is another story out there where we need to keep an eye on in the Big 12, and that is head coach Brent Brennan from Arizona.
Call from
Rock and Rant.
Rock and Rant. Can you just hold on for one moment?
Sure can.
Appreciate it. Brent Brennan. There is steam out there that if Arizona, I think they play Houston. They play Houston at home this Friday, tomorrow. Late night game on FS1. If Arizona comes out of that game with another loss, keep your eyes on Brent Brennan's head coaching job. He's only been there 1 year. Jason Shear of Arizona 247 is reporting that the money is there to buy him out. Brent Brennan had been criticized even before the start of the season for his inability to talk with people out locally, the community. For whatever reason, he's been somewhat of an introvert with donors and everybody. That is the word on the street of Brett Brennan. And then the season has completely gone pear-shaped. So it doesn't look like it's going to work out. They might pull the plug early. We shall see. Rock and Rant, the floor is yours. Thanks for your patience.
Of course, and I'll try to be quick today because there's probably background noise as I walk outside. I really just wanted to comment about and then I'll add one thing based off the Nitwit's comments to you. But in terms of the SEC and the college football playoff, I mean, I don't know why everyone's freaking out, especially them after week 2 when there's multiple weeks to go. But like to me, it's essentially they're like, all the schools and fan bases have been throwing stuff on the field after one time throwing stuff on the field delayed you enough to get the call that you wanted, right? They learned last year by making noise and Sankey politicking. That's how FSU in part got snubbed, right? Whether that's the actual reason or not, but the perception is that Sankey politics and the ACC didn't. And now you basically have the entire conference from their immediate types on down politicking right now. Like they learned it possibly works, so they're going to get loud and they're just doing it sooner, even though nobody has a reason to really freak out about whether there's 4 teams, 5 teams, 3 teams, or whatever from the SEC. They're just going to mimic the tactics that worked for them previously. So I think it's kind of amusing to watch the freak out, but that's what they're doing. They learned it worked. At least perceptually, people think it did.
Yeah, it worked. But I'm going to go ahead and freak out on their freak out.
Oh yeah, I think them being ridiculous is just like one more reason to despise them, right? and their complete and total arrogance. Like for me, like if Miami doesn't make it, we lost it on the field. We shouldn't have lost to Georgia Tech. Like it's not that hard, guys. Like stop crying. I know it just means more tears and everything for the SEC, but give us a break. We're sort of sick of it.
Yeah.
And then just Nitwit was making really good comments, and it's hard to address his comments about people not thinking about teams going away or the disparity in NIL for LSU gymnasts without being into politics. But I would just say broadly, it's more unlikely than not that the change in government that's going on is going to have a lot of as strong defense for Title IX and what it actually means in general. But even that aside, regardless, without taking a view on one side or the other, there is a difference in what, the LSU gymnast who is banking money for NIL is bringing in versus a quarterback bringing stuff in. And it's not because I think one's better than the other. She's getting a lot of money for herself. Yes, she's getting attention for the program, and they have definitely better attendance than they did in the past, but it's not remotely bringing the same revenue into the actual school itself as a winning football program. It's just by the sheer definition of size and scope of what those sports have the capacity to bring in. So it's a little bit more complicated than just a pure Title IX and the definition of how that would apply to paying people versus the amount of spots of scholarships for men and women, which is at the base what Title IX came to, and the NIL stuff was never really even contemplated, so it's going to be subject to a new interpretation. Yes, there's definitely more programs going to fold, but if you think about it, there's a lot less Division I football teams and other sports right now than there were 25 years ago. So that's been an ongoing thing. It's just going to accelerate with what's going on with everything right now. So I thought he had a really good point. I just don't know that they're in the current climate that we're going to see the same kind of action or reaction we might have seen a few years ago.
Yeah. So what are your let's talk Miami football here. Who do you got next? You don't play
Wake
this
Forest,
week, right?
We have Wake Forest next week, and then it's Syracuse. So, and my take on Syracuse depends upon what's happened the week before, because they're them and Virginia Tech can't decide what personality they're going to have. One week you're worried about the game, and then the next week you're not. But that's who Miami has. They have Wake Forest, and then they have Syracuse to close the season. SMU definitely has a bit of a harder schedule the last few games they have, as do Clemson to a lesser degree with having Pitt on their schedule this coming weekend.
Yeah, so let's just pretend for a moment that Miami and Syracuse, win their games, win comfortably. They go into the ACC championship game. What are you most worried about in that? If it's SMU versus Miami, what do you feel best about if that game would come about? Or have you given any thought to it yet?
No, I definitely given it thought. I mean, I whatever the over is, take it. I don't know. I don't care what the number is, just take it. Over 70, take it. Over 80, probably take it. You know, I think that SMU is completely capable, barring some major turnaround in our defense over the last couple of weeks with adjustments that we haven't seen, to compete with Miami and there's a bunch of ex-Miami guys in there who are going to have additional motivation as well. I think ultimately that just comes down to, like, is the Cam Ward and the offense on, like, A or A+ mode? If they are, then, like, they'll eventually outscore SMU. If they're on B mode, B- mode, and SMU's on A mode, then, like, anything's possible. So that's kind of how I look at it. I don't go in, like, not confident. I go, tell me what the read is on how on fire Miami's going to be. If they're playing – because Brett Lashley's not going to do what Georgia Tech did. It's not like their offensive style to try to get it down to 8 or 9 possessions in a game with a 10-minute drive. Like, that's just not their offense either. And SMU is equally capable of pulling a Miami, as you see, like in the Duke game, that they have every reason they should have lost with all the turnovers and got away with it. But it's not going to be a boring game. Yeah,
that's true. Fascinating. All right, Mr. Rockman, I appreciate it. When are you on next with your genius co-host, Moen?
That one is on Sunday, and if you're looking for another take, then I'm on with my friend Miami Flow later on tonight.
Oh, you're on tonight. Okay, good. What's the name of the Miami channel again?
It's Miami Flow, MIAMI, African Frank, LO. But it's a national show that we do on Thursdays. It's not Miami focused.
Beautiful. All righty, sir. Appreciate it. You can put in the
right,
chat.
Thanks, Greg.
You can put in the chat the name of the show if you want.
I appreciate it. Thank you for this help.
You got it, buddy. All right, Rock and Rant, Mr. Hurricane. Look, you can tell you what, that the entertainment value alone that the Miami Hurricanes has brought to the college football season should get the ticket into the college football playoffs. That is one entertaining team to watch. Cam Ward has been unbelievable, and he's got the targets, he's got the talent. They're a little messed up on defense. We've been talking about that since the start of the season. Basically, that Virginia Tech Hokies game kind of rattled me a little bit on the Hurricanes defense. But the offense is fun to watch. Can they get to the ACC championship game? SMU, Miami. The winner goes to the playoffs. Most likely. Who knows with this playoff system, with the selection committee. Phone lines are open, 763-260-1333 if you want to give us a call. Make sure you subscribe to our channel. Smash the like button if you like our content. Share the video with your family and your friends. If you want to support this, help us keep the lights on with a donation. Hit the $sign when you make a comment, and I'll get to Super Chat as quick as I possibly can. That is the YouTube channel. You can watch the Miami show tonight. Mr. Rock and Rant is going to be on.
Call from
Evil Badger.
The Evil Badger. Ryan Willie is on the line. The floor is yours.
Hey, Greg.
Yes, sir.
How are you doing tonight? I'm calling to kind of, say the same thing Nitwit said about ESPN and their talking heads, because all they're doing is just sticking their marching orders from ESPN, and the whole thing, if the majority of the teams are from an ACC, it's a sham, in my opinion, because they don't want to lose all that money they're spending on the playoff.
Yeah, I mean, they are, ESPN is spending a lot of money in the playoffs. That was their choice, by the way. They did not have to. They could have bowed out. They could have backed away. They could have not other media companies could not really come in and participate in the playoff.
Well, that was
ESPN
in my opinion, that was their goal. So not like other companies.
Well, ESPN had owned they own the top bowl games, so they own the quarterfinals and the semifinals anyways. And the other media companies did not want to come in and just take first round games. If they were, they would want to have a chance to get a championship game, semifinal game at some point during the 6 or 7 year tenure of this next playoff media contract. So the other media companies backed away. It basically was ESPN. That's why they lowballed. They got it for what, $1.3 billion instead of the 2.1 or 2.2 billion that everyone thought they would have to pay. But still, ESPN is putting a lot of money out there by their choice, and they want to see the top brands play in it because more eyeballs. But again, I think they're protesting too much when when they think that there should be 5 SEC teams in the projections when really they shouldn't be, in my opinion. But go ahead, Evil Badger.
Well, that's because they want. Like, I think it was about a year or so ago that Sankey said that he wouldn't mind all the teams from the SEC to be in the playoff.
Mm-hmm.
Because he wanted all SEC playoff, basically.
Yeah, he wants it as much as possible. No question about it.
But I do have another question for you. So, I missed the picks.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
So
I just read something. Go ahead.
So who'd you pick between Oregon and Wisconsin?
I took Oregon, sir. I took Oregon, and so did the PATC community.
Okay.
14 points is not 14 points. I thought it was going to be a little bit higher than 14.
Okay, so maybe Badgers have a chance now.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Maybe they do. That's the BYU Cougar fans are happy that I took Kansas. So maybe Wisconsin Badger fans should be happy that I took Oregon.
All right. Well, that's all I have for you
All
tonight.
Sir. I appreciate the
Thanks
phone
for
call.
letting me call in.
You got it.
All
Thanks, buddy.
Bye.
Well, let me just show you something. Let me show you something, what Greg Sankey just said. Brian Fisher, Greg Sankey on Feinbaum says, of a team picking up a potential third loss in the SEC title game, I would expect that the committee continues the form of thinking that these championship games, that 13th data point, is more of a reward and recognition for the work done. Okay. Fine. I'm okay with that. I want to hear what you guys got to say. I'm okay with that. No real punishment for a conference championship game loss. Okay, all right, okay. So if it's Texas versus Georgia, and Texas loses again to Georgia, it knocks down Texas, but probably not out of the playoffs. Only a couple spots. Well, that wouldn't be Texas' third loss. That was a bad example. What? Forget that example. Forget that example. Let's say it's Texas A&M beats Texas in the season finale. Then it's Texas A&M versus Georgia, and Texas A&M beats Georgia. Georgia's third loss. Okay, you know, you're only going to move them down a peg or two. Whatever you do to the least of my brothers, you have done unto me. Or the most of my brothers, which is the SEC. Whatever you do with the SEC, on their third, if it's a third loss team in the conference championship game, be consistent with the other conference championship game losers. Right? Right? So BYU, if BYU has one loss going into the Big 12 championship game, let's say they lose to Kansas, and then they lose to Colorado for the second loss, and let's say they were ranked 11th going into that Big 12 championship game, should they be knocked out of the playoffs? Or should the Big 12 championship game loss not affect them? What if Big 12, what if Kansas goes to the Big 12 championship game undefeated and Colorado beats them by 17 points? Is Sankey going to be arguing, and people on ESPN going to be arguing that the BYU Cougars should not be in the playoffs and that another two-loss SEC team should go in the playoffs? This is fine. This is all fine, well, but be consistent. That's what I ask. Be consistent. Should Boise lose to Colorado State in the Mountain West Conference game? Shouldn't there be some punishment? Some punishment. Boy, we're going to get a lot of fireworks. We are going to get a lot of fireworks. That's all I'm saying. That is all I am saying. Holy smokes. He added, but if the Big 12 gets their second loss, they're out. Not worried about Sankey parlaying for the SEC. That's his job. Not so keen on ESPN doing it as well. Illini Ted, good point. Has your Mark started his publicity campaign? No, he hasn't. Great question. But he has been silent. Of course, Tony Petitti is silent. Tony Petitti is always silent. Okay, we are going to close it up. We've been on the air for an hour and 45 minutes. I want to thank everybody for their contributions in the comments section, the chat room, with their phone calls, with their donations. Ryan Thomas, Tough Tony, Ryan Willie, thank you so much. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. The Big 12 nightmare scenario is still alive, but the Big 12 can kill it with the win over Kansas. Come this Saturday, buckle up, brace for impact. More college football drama is on the way. We are going to be live at some point tomorrow, but it's going to be tomorrow night. So keep your head on a swivel. tomorrow night. We're not going to be available during the morning hours or the noon hours or the afternoon hours. We'll be going to be doing a live show tomorrow night, Friday night. Buckle up, brace for impact. Until next time, from all of us at PATC to all of you, please, you all take great care of each other. Thank you so very much.